The stagecoach hit another rut in the dusty road, and Zelda Vance pressed her hand against the worn leather seat to steady herself. Watching the California landscape roll past through a veil of tears she refused to shed. Spring of 1878 had brought her west to Redding, a small but growing town in Shasta County, with nothing but a carpetbag, a letter of agreement with a stranger, and a heart so thoroughly shattered she wondered if anyone could ever make her whole again. She was 22 years old, and already she felt ancient. The memories of Philadelphia haunted her like ghosts, whispering reminders of everything she had lost. Her fiancé, Thomas, had died 3 months before their wedding when his horse threw him during a rainstorm. The grief had nearly destroyed her, but it was what came after that truly broke her. Her family, drowning in debts Thomas had secretly accumulated and somehow entangled with her father's business, had lost everything. The fine townhouse, the servants, the life she had known all vanished like smoke. When her cousin showed her the advertisement in the newspaper for mail-order brides needed out west, Zelda had stared at it for a long time. The idea of marrying a stranger seemed impossible, but staying in Philadelphia, watching her mother's health decline from the stress, seeing her younger siblings go hungry, that was unbearable. So she had written to Mr. Ryder Dalton of Redding, California, offering herself as a bride in exchange for the money he sent for her passage, money she had immediately given to her family. Now, as the stagecoach pulled into Redding's Main Street, Zelda forced herself to sit straighter, to arrange her face into something resembling composure. The town was smaller than she had imagined, a collection of wooden buildings lining a wide dirt road, with mountains visible in the distance. The air smelled different here, dry and clean, carrying hints of pine and dust. The driver called out and the coach lurched to a stop in front of a general store. Zelda's hands trembled as she gathered her things, accepting the driver's assistance as she stepped down onto the wooden sidewalk. Several people turned to stare at her, this obvious newcomer in her travel-worn Eastern dress. "Miss Vance." She turned toward the voice and found herself looking at a man who took her breath away, though not from any romantic notion. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with broad shoulders that spoke of years of hard work. His face was weathered and tanned, with lines around his eyes that suggested he smiled often, though he was not smiling now. Those eyes, a startling blue against his sun-darkened skin, held a gentleness that seemed at odds with his rough cowboy appearance. He wore dusty work clothes, boots that had seen better days, and a hat he quickly removed when she met his gaze. "Mr. Dalton." Her voice came out smaller than she intended. "Yes, madam, Ryder Dalton. Welcome to Redding." He shifted his weight, clearly as uncomfortable as she felt. "I hope the journey was not too difficult." "It was fine, thank you." The lie came automatically. The journey had been horrible, weeks of discomfort and fear, but what did it matter now? Ryder reached for her bag, and she saw his hands were calloused and strong, the hands of someone who worked with them every day. "My wagon is just here. I thought we might speak with Reverend Matthews this afternoon, if that suits you." Zelda felt her stomach clench. This afternoon. She would be married this afternoon to this stranger, and tonight she would be expected to be his wife in every way. The thought made her want to run, but there was nowhere to run to. She had made her choice when she took his money. "Of course," she managed, as Ryder led her to his wagon, a simple but well-maintained vehicle hitched to 2 sturdy horses. Zelda noticed people watching them with interest. A town this size, a mail-order bride was probably significant news. "My ranch is about 5 miles outside of town," Ryder said as he helped her onto the wagon seat. His touch was brief, respectful, but Zelda still flinched. She saw hurt flash across his face before he looked away. "It is not fancy, but it is a good piece of land. I have cattle, some horses. It is enough to live on comfortably. I am sure it will be fine." Another automatic response. She could not seem to say anything real, anything true. All her words were hollow, echoing from some distant place inside her that still remembered how to be polite. They rode in silence for a while, and Zelda was grateful. She stared at the landscape, so different from everything she knew. Where Philadelphia was all brick and cobblestone, narrow streets and tall buildings. This was open space, rolling hills covered in grass turning gold under the spring sun, scattered oak trees, and always those mountains in the distance. "I want you to know," Ryder said suddenly, his voice careful, "I will not rush you into anything. I understand this arrangement is difficult. We can take time to become acquainted before we truly become husband and wife." Zelda turned to look at him in surprise. His profile was strong, his jaw set, but she could see color rising in his cheeks beneath his tan. "That is very kind of you," she said, and meant it. "But I agreed to this arrangement. I will honor my commitments. I appreciate that, but kindness should be part of any marriage, arranged or not." He glanced at her, those blue eyes searching her face. "You look like someone who has known great sorrow recently. I would not add to it if I can help it." Something in Zelda's chest cracked just slightly. She had not expected kindness, not really. She had expected a rough man who wanted a woman to cook his meals and warm his bed, someone who would not care about her feelings as long as she performed her duties. "I was engaged before," she heard herself say. "He died. My family lost everything. I came here because they needed the money you sent." Ryder was quiet for a long moment. "I am sorry for your loss. Losing someone you love is about the hardest thing a person can go through. You speak as though you know." "My wife died 2 years ago. Fever took her quick. We had only been married a year." His voice was steady, but Zelda could hear the grief underneath, old and deep. "I know what it is to have a broken heart." They rode in silence again, but it was different now, weighted with shared pain. Zelda found herself studying him more carefully. He was probably 26 or 27, still young but already marked by loss. His hands were gentle with the reins, his posture relaxed despite the tension between them. When they reached the church, a small white building on the edge of town, Reverend Matthews was waiting. He was an older man with kind eyes and a gentle manner. The ceremony was brief and simple, with the Reverend's wife and the local schoolteacher serving as witnesses. When Ryder slipped a simple gold band onto Zelda's finger, his hands were steady even though hers shook. "You may kiss your bride," Reverend Matthews said with a smile. Ryder looked at Zelda, a question in his eyes. She nodded slightly, and he leaned down to press his lips gently against hers. It was chaste, quick, but Zelda felt tears spring to her eyes anyway. This was her wedding day, and all she could think about was Thomas, about the future she had lost. Ryder pulled back, saw her tears, and his expression softened with understanding. "It is all right," he murmured, so quietly only she could hear. "It is all right to grieve." That small kindness nearly undid her completely. The ride to Ryder's ranch took another half-hour. The property was beautiful in a wild, untamed way. The house was a solid 2-story structure, clearly built with care. A barn stood nearby, along with several outbuildings. Cattle dotted the hillsides, and Zelda could see horses in a fenced pasture. "I built most of it myself," Ryder said, and she could hear the pride in his voice. "With help from some ranch hands during busy seasons. I have 2 men who work here regularly, Carlos and Jim. They have a bunkhouse out back. They are good men, respectful." He helped her down from the wagon and carried her bag inside. The house was clean and neat if sparsely furnished. The main room held a stone fireplace, a sturdy table with chairs, and a rocking chair by the window. A kitchen area took up one corner and stairs led to the second floor. "There are 2 bedrooms upstairs," Ryder said, setting her bag down. "You can take the larger one. I will sleep in the other." "But this is your home. I should not displace you. You are my wife now. What is mine is yours." He moved to the kitchen, clearly looking for something to do with his hands. "Are you hungry? I am not much of a cook, but I can manage some basic things." "I can cook," Zelda said automatically. "I should earn my keep." Ryder turned to look at her, and something in his expression was almost sad. "This is your home now too, Zelda. You do not need to earn anything. But if cooking would make you feel more comfortable, I would appreciate it. I confess my skills do not extend much beyond beans and bacon." Despite everything, Zelda felt the ghost of a smile touch her lips. "Then I suppose I should take over the kitchen before you starve." Over the next few weeks, they established a routine. Zelda rose early to make breakfast, and Ryder was always unfailingly grateful, complimenting even her simplest efforts. He worked the ranch during the day and she kept the house, cooked the meals, and slowly began to explore her new home. True to his word, Ryder did not press her to consummate their marriage. He slept in the smaller bedroom, was respectful and kind, and asked nothing of her beyond what she offered. They spoke little at first, conversation stilted and careful, 2 strangers circling each other warily. But gradually, Zelda began to notice things about him. The way he hummed while he worked, old songs she did not recognize. How he always wiped his boots carefully before entering the house. The gentle way he handled the animals, even the most stubborn cattle. He read books in the evening, an unexpected discovery that intrigued her. When she asked about it, he had looked almost embarrassed. "My mother was a school teacher back in Missouri," he explained. "She made sure all her children could read and write properly. Said it did not matter if we were going to be ranchers or farmers. Education was important." "Do you have siblings?" "3 brothers, 2 sisters. All back east except for my younger brother who is up in Oregon. We write when we can." He paused. "Do you want to write to your family? I can take a letter to town tomorrow." Zelda had been avoiding thinking about her family, about the life she had left behind, but his offer touched her. "Yes, I would like that, thank you." That night, she sat at the table with paper and ink Ryder provided, trying to find words to tell her mother she was safe, that she was married, that her new husband was kind. It was harder than she expected. How could she explain the emptiness inside her, the way she felt like she was watching her own life from a distance? One morning in late April, about a month after her arrival, Zelda woke to find the house empty. Ryder had already left for work, which was unusual. Normally, he waited for breakfast. She dressed and went downstairs, finding a note on the table in his careful handwriting. "Had to check on the north pasture early. Back by afternoon. There is coffee still warm on the stove." Zelda poured herself a cup and stood by the window, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. The beauty of it caught her off guard, and for the first time since Thomas died, she felt something other than numbness. It was just a flicker, a tiny spark of appreciation for something lovely, but it was there. She was still standing there when she heard a commotion outside. Frowning, she set down her coffee and went to the door. A horse was running wild in the yard, reins dragging, saddle empty. It took her a moment to recognize it as Ryder's horse. Thunder, fear, sharp and immediate, cut through her fog. Something was wrong. Zelda did not stop to think. She grabbed her shawl and ran toward the barn where she knew Ryder kept other horses. She had not ridden in years, not since she was a girl, but she did not hesitate. She managed to saddle one of the gentler mares, her hands clumsy with the unfamiliar tack but determined. She rode toward the north pasture, following the direction she had seen Ryder take before. The land was rough, and she had to slow the mare carefully over rocky sections. Her heart pounded in her chest, and she realized with sudden clarity that she was terrified of finding him hurt or worse. When did this happen? When did this stranger become someone whose safety mattered so much? She found him about 2 miles from the house, sitting on the ground with his back against a rock, his legs stretched out in front of him at an odd angle. His face was pale beneath his tan, jaw clenched against obvious pain. "Zelda," he looked shocked to see her. "What are you doing out here?" She slid off the mare, her legs shaky, and hurried to his side. "Your horse came back without you. I was worried. What happened?" "Thunder spooked at a rattlesnake, threw me. I think my leg is broken." He tried to smile, but it came out as more of a grimace. "I was trying to figure out how I was going to get back to the house." Zelda knelt beside him, examining his leg without touching it. Even through his pants she could see the unnatural angle. "We need to get you home and send for a doctor. The nearest doctor is in town. It will take hours to get him out here. Then we will manage until he arrives." She stood, her mind racing through possibilities. The mare could not carry both of them, not with his injury. "I am going to ride back and get the wagon. Can you wait here? I do not have much choice." He reached out and caught her hand. "Zelda, thank you for coming to find me." The warmth of his hand around her sent an unexpected jolt through her. "Of course I came. You are my husband." She said it matter-of-factly, but something shifted in his eyes, something warm and grateful that made her chest feel tight. The ride back seemed to take forever. She found Carlos, one of the ranch hands, near the barn and quickly explained what happened. Together, they hitched the wagon and gathered blankets and water. Jim, the other ranch hand, rode ahead to town to fetch the doctor. When they reached Ryder, he was even paler than before, clearly in considerable pain but trying to hide it. Carlos helped lift him into the wagon bed as gently as possible, but Ryder still had to bite back a groan. Zelda climbed into the back with him, cushioning his head with a folded blanket. "I am sorry," she murmured, seeing the pain in his face as the wagon jolted over the rough ground. "Not your fault." His voice was tight. "Just my own carelessness. Accidents happen. Do not blame yourself." His eyes found hers, and even through the pain there was something soft in his gaze. "You have good instincts. Coming to find me like that, you probably saved my life. I think you would have managed somehow. Maybe, but I am glad I did not have to." His hand found hers again, gripping it tightly as another bump sent pain through him. She held on, offering what comfort she could, and realized she was no longer numb. Fear for him had burned through the fog she had been living in, and now she could feel everything: the warmth of his hand, the roughness of the wagon bed beneath her, the worry churning in her stomach. The doctor, a brisk, efficient man named Dr. Harrison, arrived that evening. He confirmed the leg was broken and set it, a process that left Ryder pale and sweating despite his attempts to stay stoic. Zelda held his hand through it all, murmuring encouragement, and when it was finally done, he looked at her with exhausted gratitude. "He will need to stay off that leg for at least 6 weeks, Dr. Harrison told Zelda as she walked him out. "Complete bed rest for the first 2, then he can start moving around with crutches. Make sure he follows those instructions." Men like him tend to think they are invincible and try to do too much too soon. "I will make sure he rests," Zelda promised. That night, she helped Ryder up the stairs to his bedroom, a slow, painful process. Once he was settled, she brought him supper on a tray. "You do not have to wait on me like this," he protested. "You are injured. Of course I am going to help you." She set the tray across his lap. "Besides, what kind of wife would I be if I left you to suffer alone, the kind who did not sign up to be a nursemaid?" I signed up to be your wife, for better or worse. I believe broken legs fall under worse." She surprised herself with the gentle teasing in her voice. A smile crossed his face, genuine and warm despite the pain. "I am beginning to think I am a lucky man, even with this broken leg." Over the following weeks, Zelda found herself drawn deeper into Ryder's world. Caring for him meant spending more time together, talking more, learning about each other in ways they had not when they were both carefully maintaining polite distance. She learned he had wanted to be a teacher like his mother but fell in love with ranching when he came west. That his favorite food was apple pie, which she promptly learned to make from a recipe book she found in the kitchen. That he was afraid of disappointing people, which was why he worked so hard. That he still missed his first wife, Sarah, but the grief had softened into a bittersweet memory rather than the raw wound it once was. He learned she had loved music and used to play piano, though her family's instrument had been sold with everything else. That she read poetry when she was sad. That she had always wanted to see the ocean. That she had dreams of her own once, before loss taught her to stop dreaming. "What did you dream about?" he asked one evening as she changed the bandage on his leg. She was quiet for a moment, focusing on her task. "I wanted to open a school for girls, not just teaching them to be wives, but real education, mathematics and science and literature. I thought if women were educated, they could have more choices in life." "That is a fine dream. Why did you give it up?" "It was not practical. Women do not do such things, especially not women without money or family support. Women do all kinds of things out here that they do not do back east," Ryder said thoughtfully. "There is a woman up in Sacramento who runs her own newspaper, another in San Francisco who is a doctor. The West is different." Zelda looked up at him, surprised. "You would not object to your wife doing something like that?" "Why would I? You have a good mind and a kind heart. Seems to me you could do a lot of good with a school like that." He shifted, wincing slightly. "Maybe once I am back on my feet, we could talk about it more seriously. See if it might be possible." Something warm unfurled in Zelda's chest, something she had not felt in so long she almost did not recognize it. Hope. As Ryder healed and began moving around on crutches, their relationship continued to evolve. He was a terrible patient, constantly trying to do more than Dr. Harrison advised, and Zelda found herself scolding him regularly. "You are going to hurt yourself worse," she said, exasperated, when she found him trying to make it down the stairs by himself. "I cannot just lie in bed forever. There is work to be done. Carlos and Jim are managing the work fine. You need to heal. Zelda, I appreciate your concern, but I am going crazy up there." She looked at his frustrated face and felt her annoyance soften. "Then come sit downstairs. Let me help you down properly. You can sit by the window and read, or we can play cards, or you can tell me more about the ranch, but you have to let me help you." He studied her for a moment, then nodded. "All right. I am sorry for being stubborn." "I am beginning to think stubborn is just your natural state," she said, but she was smiling. That evening they sat together in the main room, and Ryder taught her to play poker using dried beans instead of money. She proved to be surprisingly good at it, reading his tells with ease. "You are a card shark," he accused after she won the fifth hand in a row. "I am just observant. You always touch your chin when you are bluffing." "I do not." He paused, clearly thinking back. "Do I really? Every single time?" He laughed, a real deep, genuine laugh that made his eyes crinkle at the corners. The sound of it made Zelda's heart skip in a way that both thrilled and terrified her. She was falling for him. Somehow, without meaning to, she had started to care for this kind, stubborn cowboy who treated her with such gentleness and respect. One night in early June, Zelda woke to the sound of Ryder crying out. She was on her feet, and in his room before she fully realized she was moving. He was tangled in his sheets, clearly in the grip of a nightmare. "Ryder." She touched his shoulder gently. "Ryder, wake up, you are dreaming." His eyes flew open, wild and disoriented for a moment before focusing on her. He was breathing hard, sweat beading on his forehead. "I am sorry," he managed. "I did not mean to wake you. Do not apologize. Are you all right?" He sat up slowly, running a hand through his hair. "Just a dream. I get them sometimes, about Sarah dying, about not being able to save her." Zelda sat on the edge of his bed without thinking about it. "I have dreams about Thomas too, about the accident. Sometimes I dream I can warn him, but he never listens." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, two people who understood the weight of loss. "Can I tell you something?" Ryder's voice was quiet in the darkness. "I feel guilty sometimes for being happy, for enjoying your company, like I am betraying Sarah's memory. I understand. I feel the same about Thomas." Zelda took a breath. "But I have been thinking about something. The people we loved, they would want us to be happy, would they not? They would not want us to spend our lives drowning in grief. Sarah used to say life was too short to waste on sorrow. She would probably be furious with me for moping around these past 2 years." A small, sad smile crossed his face. "She would have liked you, I think. You are both strong women who do not let the world push you around. I wish I felt strong. Most days I feel like I am held together with string and prayer." Ryder reached out and took her hand. "That is what strength is, Zelda, keeping going even when you feel like you are falling apart. You left everything you knew to come here and build a new life. That takes courage." His hand was warm around hers, calloused but gentle. Zelda looked at their joined hands and felt something shift inside her, like a door opening after being locked for too long. "I am glad I came here," she said softly. "I am glad I met you. I am glad too." His voice was rough with emotion. "You have brought light back into this house, into my life. I know we married for practical reasons, but I want you to know I have come to care for you deeply." Zelda's breath caught. "I care for you too. I did not expect to, but I do." They sat like that for a long moment, hands clasped, something fragile and precious growing between them. Then Zelda stood, suddenly shy. "You should try to get some more sleep. Call if you need anything." "Zelda." She turned back. "Thank you for being here, for not running away when you saw how broken I was. We are both broken," she said gently. "Maybe we can help each other heal." After that night, something changed. They were more open with each other, more willing to share their thoughts and feelings. Ryder continued to improve, graduating from crutches to a cane, and finally walking on his own again, though with a slight limp Dr. Harrison said would probably be permanent. One evening in late June, Ryder asked Zelda to walk with him. It was a beautiful evening, the air cooling after a hot day, the sky painted in shades of orange and purple. They walked slowly, mindful of his healing leg, toward a hill that overlooked the ranch. "I wanted to show you something," he said as they reached the top. From here, they could see the entire property spread out below them, the house and barn, the pastures with cattle grazing, the mountains beyond turning dark against the sunset sky. "It is beautiful," Zelda said, meaning it. "I remember standing here 2 years ago after Sarah died, thinking I would never feel anything but emptiness again. This place felt like a graveyard, all hard work and no joy." He turned to look at her. "But you have changed that. You have brought joy back." Zelda felt tears prick her eyes. "You have done the same for me. When I came here, I was just going through the motions of living, but you have been so patient, so kind. You have given me space to grieve while also showing me it is possible to feel happiness again. I love you, Zelda." The words came out simply, honestly. "I know we have not known each other long, and I know we both carry scars, but I love you, and I want this marriage to be real in every way if you want that too." Her heart felt too big for her chest. "I love you too. I think I have for a while now, but I was afraid to admit it. Afraid that loving again meant betraying Thomas, or that I would lose you too." "You will not lose me. I am not going anywhere." He took both her hands in his. "We cannot control what life brings us, but we can choose how we face it. I want to face it with you." She stepped closer, rising on her toes to kiss him. It was different from their wedding kiss, deeper and full of promise. His arms came around her, holding her close, and for the first time since she could remember, Zelda felt whole. They walked back to the house hand in hand as stars began to appear in the darkening sky. That night, Zelda moved her things into Ryder's room, and they became husband and wife in truth, their lovemaking tender and sweet, two broken people finding healing in each other's arms. The summer passed in a haze of happiness. Zelda had never imagined she could be this content, this at peace. They worked together running the ranch, and Ryder began teaching her to ride properly. She proved to be a natural, and soon she was accompanying him on his rounds, learning about the cattle and the land. In August, a letter arrived from Philadelphia. Zelda's mother wrote that things were improving. Her father had found steady work, and they had managed to secure a small apartment. Her siblings were all healthy. The money Zelda had sent by marrying Ryder had quite literally saved their lives. "I am so relieved," Zelda said, showing Ryder the letter. "I have been so worried about them." "You should invite them to visit," Ryder suggested. "I would like to meet your family." "Really? But the expense of the trip, it would be considerable. We can manage it. Family is important." He smiled at her. "Besides, I should probably meet your father properly, ask his blessing on our marriage, even though it is a bit late for that." She laughed and kissed him. "You are a good man, Ryder Dalton." "I am a man in love with his wife. That makes everything else easy." In September, Zelda realized she had not had her monthly courses in some time. At first, she thought it was stress, but when the nausea started, she knew. She was pregnant. She told Ryder that evening as they sat together after supper. He went very still for a moment, then a slow smile spread across his face. "Truly, we are going to have a baby. Yes, I think I am about 3 months along." He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "This is the best news." "Thank you, Zelda. Thank you for giving me this gift. We made this baby together," she said, laughing through happy tears. "It is not just my gift to you." The pregnancy was not easy. Zelda suffered from significant morning sickness that lasted well into the afternoon, and she was often exhausted. But Ryder was attentive and patient, taking over many of the household duties without complaint and making sure she rested. In October, they received word that her family would arrive in December for an extended visit. Zelda was nervous about the meeting, worried about how her family would react to her new life, but Ryder remained calm and confident. "They will see how happy you are," he assured her. "That is all that matters." The baby became more real as Zelda's belly grew. They spent evenings planning, choosing names, preparing one of the spare rooms as a nursery. Ryder built a beautiful cradle from oak, sanding it until it was smooth as silk. "My father made one like this for each of us," he explained as he worked. "I wanted to carry on the tradition." Winter came, and with it, Zelda's family. Her father was a dignified man in his early 50s, worn down by hardship but still proud. Her mother was gentle and kind, clearly relieved to see her daughter safe and well. Her 2 younger sisters, Emma and Claire, ages 16 and 14, were wide-eyed at everything about the West. The first few days were awkward. Her father was stiff and formal with Ryder, clearly uncomfortable with the circumstances of their marriage. But Ryder was unfailingly polite and respectful, and gradually her father thawed. The turning point came when one of the ranch hands was injured, and Ryder spent an entire night caring for him, ensuring he had the best medical attention and personally guaranteeing his wages until he recovered. Zelda's father witnessed this and afterward sought Ryder out. "I judged you harshly," he admitted. "I thought any man who would take a mail-order bride must be desperate or cruel. But I see now the kind of man you are. I see how you love my daughter. I am grateful she found you." Ryder shook his hand. "I am the fortunate one, sir. Zelda has brought more happiness into my life than I thought possible." The visit extended through Christmas and into the new year. Emma and Claire loved the ranch, delighting in the wide open spaces so different from Philadelphia's crowded streets. Zelda's mother helped prepare the nursery and shared advice about pregnancy and childbirth. It was a healing time for the whole family. In February of 1879, 2 weeks before her family was scheduled to leave, Zelda went into labor. It was long and difficult, lasting nearly 20 hours. Ryder stayed by her side the entire time, holding her hand, wiping her brow, offering encouragement even when she cursed him for doing this to her. Finally, as dawn broke over the mountains, their son was born. He came into the world wailing, healthy and strong, with a shock of dark hair and his father's blue eyes. "A boy," the midwife announced, placing the baby in Zelda's arms. "A fine, healthy boy." Zelda looked down at her son, this tiny, perfect person she and Ryder had created, and felt love so intense it was almost painful. Ryder knelt beside the bed, his eyes wet with tears as he touched the baby's tiny hand. "He is perfect," Ryder whispered. "Thank you, Zelda. Thank you for him, for everything." They named him Thomas Ryder Dalton, honoring both the man Zelda had loved and lost, and the man who had helped her find love again. Her family stayed an extra month to help with the baby, and by the time they left in late March, Zelda felt her heart was full to bursting. "You have a good life here," her mother said as they prepared to depart. "A good husband, a beautiful son, a home. I am so proud of you for being brave enough to take a chance on this." "I am happy, Mother, truly happy. I want you to know that." Over the next few years, life settled into a comfortable rhythm. The ranch prospered under Ryder's careful management. Thomas grew into a lively toddler, all energy and curiosity. In 1881, Zelda gave birth to their daughter, Sarah Violet Dalton, named for Ryder's first wife with her blessing. Ryder had asked if she minded, and Zelda had said no, that it was important to remember those we had loved and lost. In 1883, Zelda finally achieved her dream of opening a school. It started small, just a room added onto the house where she taught the children of local ranch families and townsfolk, boys and girls together, giving them all the education she had once dreamed of providing. Ryder supported her completely, even helping with the construction and handling the children when her teaching duties required it. The school grew, and within a few years, the town of Reading built a proper schoolhouse with Zelda as the head teacher. She taught reading, writing, mathematics, science, history, and literature, treating each subject with equal importance regardless of whether her students were male or female. In 1885, their third child was born, another boy they named James Victor Dalton. Ryder joked that they were building their own small army, but Zelda could see how much he loved being a father, how patient and gentle he was with their children. Sometimes, on quiet evenings when the children were asleep, Zelda and Ryder would sit together on the porch, watching the sun set over the mountains, and reflect on how far they had come. "You ever think about what your life would have been like if you had not come west?" Ryder asked one such evening. "Sometimes," Zelda admitted, "but I cannot imagine it anymore. This life with you and our children, this is where I belong." I think about what my life would have been like if you had not answered my advertisement, Ryder said. I was so lonely, Zelda. I did not even realize how much until you arrived and showed me what it meant to truly share my life with someone. She leaned her head on his shoulder. We saved each other, I think. Two broken people who found a way to become whole again. More than whole, he said, kissing the top of her head. We built something beautiful together. In 1888, when Thomas was 9 years old, Zelda's parents came for another visit. Her father had retired from work, and her mother's health had improved dramatically. They spent 6 months at the ranch, delighting in their grandchildren and marveling at how the property had grown. You have done well for yourself, daughter, her father said one evening. This is a fine legacy you and Ryder are building. During that visit, Emma, now 25 and still unmarried, confessed to Zelda that she had always regretted not being braver like her sister. You changed your whole life on faith, Emma said. I have always played it safe, stayed where it was comfortable. Now I wonder what I might have missed. It is never too late to be brave, Zelda told her. And bravery looks different for everyone. You do not have to come west to have an adventure. You just have to be willing to take a chance on something that matters to you. When her family returned to Philadelphia, Emma stayed behind. She took a position as Zelda's assistant teacher and eventually married Jim, one of Ryder's ranch hands who had been quietly in love with her since she first visited years before. Their wedding in 1889 was a joyous occasion, and Zelda was thrilled to have her sister nearby. The years continued to pass, bringing both joys and sorrows. In 1891, they received word that Ryder's mother had passed away peacefully in her sleep. Ryder grieved but found comfort in the knowledge that she had lived a full life and had been so proud of all her children. They named their fourth child, a daughter born that same year, Margaret Ruth Dalton, in her honor. Thomas grew into a thoughtful young man who loved reading and learning. He attended university in San Francisco, the first in either family to do so, and returned to practice law in Reading. Sarah became a teacher like her mother, taking over Zelda's school when Zelda decided to step back in 1895. James inherited his father's love of ranching and took over more and more of the daily operations as Ryder's old leg injury began to trouble him more with age. And little Margaret showed early signs of being an artist, filling countless pages with drawings of the ranch and the mountains. In 1900, as the new century dawned, Ryder and Zelda celebrated their 22nd anniversary. Their children threw them a party, inviting friends and neighbors from all over the county. Zelda looked around at the gathering, at the life they had built, and felt overwhelming gratitude. "You are crying," Ryder said, appearing at her side with a glass of punch. "Happy tears," she assured him. "I was just thinking about the day I arrived in Reading, so afraid and heartbroken. I could not have imagined all of this." "I was terrified that day," Ryder admitted. "I thought you would take one look at me and my rough ranch and run screaming back to Philadelphia. And I thought you would be disappointed in me, this broken woman who could barely function." He put his arm around her waist. "Instead, we found exactly what we needed in each other, a chance to heal, a chance to love again. The best decision I ever made was answering your advertisement," Zelda said softly. "The best decision I made was sending it." He kissed her gently. "I love you, Zelda, just as much today as I did the day I realized I was falling for you, maybe more. I love you too, always and forever." As they stood together, surrounded by family and friends in the home they had built together, Zelda thought about the journey that had brought her here. The grief and loss, yes, but also the healing and hope. The broken heart she had arrived with had been put back together, piece by piece, by this kind, patient cowboy, who had shown her that love could bloom again, even in the most barren soil. In the years that followed, They settled into the comfortable rhythm of older age. Ryder's hair turned silver and Zelda's showed streaks of gray. They both moved a bit slower, but their love remained as strong as ever. They became grandparents, delighting in Thomas's 3 children and later Sarah's 2. On quiet mornings, they would still sit together with their coffee, watching the sun rise over the ranch. Zelda would sometimes think about Thomas, about the life she had planned with him, and feel a bittersweet gratitude. She had loved him truly, but that love had been young and untested. Her love for Ryder had been forged through hardship and loss, made stronger by the healing they had done together. In 1910, as they celebrated their 32nd anniversary, Ryder gave Zelda a gift. It was a journal, bound in fine leather, with her initials embossed on the cover. "I thought you might want to write down our story," he said, "for our grandchildren and their children, so they know where they came from, what we built together." Zelda spent the next year writing, carefully recording everything she could remember, the advertisement that brought her west, the grief that nearly destroyed her, the broken cowboy who needed healing as much as she did, the slow, patient building of love and trust, the family they created, the dreams they made real. When she finished, she read it aloud to Ryder one evening. He listened with tears in his eyes, and when she was done, he held her close. "You make it sound like a fairy tale," he said. "It was," she replied. "Just not the kind I expected. Better because it was real, because we earned it." In 1915, Ryder's old leg injury finally forced him to retire completely from ranch work. James ran the operation now, with his own sons learning the business. Ryder and Zelda spent their days in gentler pursuits, gardening, reading, spending time with their ever-growing family. Zelda's school had expanded into a full academy, with Sarah as head mistress and several other teachers on staff. Young women came from all over California to attend, getting the kind of education Zelda had once only dreamed of providing. It was her legacy, and she was proud of it. On a warm June evening in 1918, 40 years after they first met, Ryder and Zelda sat together on their porch. He was 70, she 62, and they had just returned from celebrating their 40th anniversary with a big family dinner. Their 4 children were there, along with their spouses, 10 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. "We have been blessed," Ryder said, his hand finding hers as it always did. "We have," Zelda agreed. "More than I ever thought possible." "Do you remember what you said to me that night when I had the nightmare, about broken people helping each other heal?" "I do." "You were right. We healed each other. Every broken piece of my heart you put back together with your love and patience. I hope I did the same for you." "You did," she assured him. "You showed me that loss does not have to be the end of the story, that love can grow again, maybe even stronger than before because we appreciate how precious it is." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. The ranch spread out before them, generations of work and love made manifest in land and buildings and family. "If I could go back and tell my younger self anything," Ryder said thoughtfully, "I think I would tell him not to be afraid. That taking a chance on love again would be the best thing he ever did. And I would tell my younger self that sometimes the darkest moments lead to the brightest futures," Zelda added. "That a broken heart can heal if you give it time and the right person to help. We did all right, did we not?" Ryder asked with a smile. "We did better than all right," Zelda said, squeezing his hand. "We built a life full of love and purpose. We raised good children who are raising good children of their own. We made dreams come true that we did not even know we had. What more could anyone ask for?" As the night deepened around them, they remained on the porch. 2 souls who had found each other when both were broken and built something beautiful together. Their love story was not the conventional kind, not the youthful passion of first love, but rather the deeper, richer love of two people who had known loss and chosen to risk their hearts again. The ranch would continue long after they were gone, passed down through the generations. The school would keep educating young women, opening doors and creating opportunities. But more than these physical legacies, what Ryder and Zelda left behind was the proof that broken hearts can heal, that love can bloom in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the greatest adventures come from taking a leap of faith. Years later, when they were both gone and their great-grandchildren read the journal Zelda had written, they would understand what it meant to be brave in the face of grief, to choose hope when despair seemed easier, to build something lasting and beautiful from the shattered pieces of broken dreams. The story of the mail-order bride who came west with a broken heart and the cowboy who spent his life putting every piece back together became family legend, told and retold through the generations. But it was more than just a story. It was a testament to the healing power of love, the strength of the human spirit, and the truth that sometimes the most beautiful things grow from the most broken places. In the end, as Ryder and Zelda lived out their final years surrounded by the family and life they had built together, they knew with absolute certainty that every hardship, every loss, every moment of grief had been worth it, because it had led them to each other, and to a love that healed all wounds and created something far more beautiful than either had dared to dream. They passed away within months of each other in 1920, Ryder in March and Zelda in June, having lived full, rich lives filled with love and purpose. They were buried side by side on a hill overlooking the ranch, under the wide California sky they had both come to love. Their headstones, simple and elegant, bore matching inscriptions chosen by their children. Ryder's read, "A man who loved deeply and built a legacy of kindness." Zelda's read, "A woman who turned heartbreak into hope and inspired generations." But it was the shared inscription below both stones that truly captured their story. Two broken hearts made whole by love. Their descendants continued to gather at the ranch for generations, sharing stories of the couple who had started it all. The school Zelda founded continued to educate and empower young women well into the 20th century and beyond. The ranch Ryder built remained in the family, a testament to hard work and dedication. But more than these physical legacies, what endured was the lesson they had taught through their lives, that love is worth the risk, that healing is possible even after the deepest loss, and that sometimes the most unlikely beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings. The mail-order bride and the cowboy had found each other when both were broken, and together they had built a love that lasted a lifetime and echoed through the ages, proof that even the most shattered heart can be made whole again by the right person and the right kind of patient, enduring love.